Okay, today we're going to start with lesson 1 in step-by-step stories. Now, what I'm going to show you is exactly how to teach it if your child were, say, a kindergartner or a kindergarten age. So I'm going to explain it very simply, and you'll just adapt it however you need to for your student. Today we're going to start with the clock face letters, and you can find these on page 7. It will show exactly which letters we're going to start with, because in step-by-step stories we learn the letters as according to how they're written using the clock face. So they're not done in alphabetical order. So this is the order that we're going to start with, and you can see that same order right here on the next page, and we're going to start with these first letters here, and I'm going to show you how to teach that using the clock face. And we also have these clock sheets. If you purchased the clock faces and phonogram cards, then you'll have a sheet like this, which will show, because we're going to start exactly with using the 2 and the 4. So this is how it would work. Today we are going to start learning our letters and the sounds that they make. And as we learn our letters, we're going to use the clock face. Now I would like you to show me, if you can, where the number 2 is on the clock face. Now hopefully this was the 2 that you found right here. Now if you happen to find this 2 up here, you're right, that is a 2. And that 2 is connected with a 1, and when those 2 are together, we call the number 12. And we're not going to be using the 12, we're actually going to be using the 2 today. And another number that we're going to use today is we're going to make sure we go all the way up and around backwards on the clock face, and we're going to use the number 4 also. So those are the numbers that we're going to use today as we learn our first few phonograms. So we're going to start with the letter A, Now, I'm going to say the letter sound first, and I'll point to myself when it's my turn to say the sound. And then I'm going to point to you. And when I point to you, then it's your turn to see if you can say all those sounds back to me. Now, this one has quite a few sounds, so we'll say it a few times. So I will start with A, One more time. A, Now it's your turn. Okay, now when we write the letter A, we're going to use our clock face, and we're going to start on the 2, and we're going to draw all the way up to the 12, the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6, which will be on the baseline, back up to the 4, where we'll transition straight up to the 2 and straight back down to the baseline. Now you can draw the letter on the clock if you need to, and if you have your sheets, your writing sheets, then you will have one that looks like this. And you'll see on here that we have a green dot on the number 2, because that tells us where we start. And we have a yellow dot on the number 4, that's where we transition, and a red dot where we stop. So just think about when your mom's driving the car, she goes on green, and she remembers to be careful on yellow, and then she stops when the light is red. So we're going to put our finger on the 2, and we're going to draw A. And we're going to start on the 2, and we're going to go up to the 12 and around to the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6, which rests on the baseline, back up to the 4 where we remember to transition, go straight up to the green line, and straight back down. We're going to stop on red, and we're going to make sure that we remember to say A. Now you're going to do it. Put your finger on the 2, go up to the 12, all around to the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6 on the baseline, back up to the 4, straight up to the 2, straight back down to the red dot, and say A. Okay, now remember that this is our top line, the dotted line in the middle is our midpoint, and the bottom line is our baseline. Now you can take your pencil and you can draw A. Make sure you take your pencil, and you're going to put your pencil on the green dot, and you're going to go up to the 12 all the way around the clock face. Make sure you touch the baseline. Go to the 4, then transition straight up to the green dot and straight back down to the red dot and say A. Now our next letter is going to use the 2 and the 4 again also. And this letter is the letter K. So I'll start by saying K. Now it's your turn. Okay, when we write K, we can again get out another one of our papers. We can put our finger on the green dot on where the 2 is and go up to the 12 and all the way around the clock, making sure to touch the baseline and up to the 4. And we stop on the 4 this time and we say K. Now you can practice drawing your K later, but make sure that you practice and that you remember as you're practicing to say the sound K. Our next letter is the letter D. Now we have to make sure that we say this correctly, that we just say the sound D. We don't want to add any more sound to that than that. So I'll start D. Very good. Now the letter D, again, we're going to start where the green dot is on the 2. We're going to go up to the 12, around to the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6 on the baseline, back up to the 4, and oh look, we're going to transition on the 4. This time, we're going to go straight up and almost touch the top line, but not quite, and then straight back down and rest on the bass line, and we're going to say the sound D. Our next letter has several sounds also. This letter is actually easier to draw because we're only going to use the 2 this time. This letter is A, O, U, A. So I'll start A, O, U, A. This one might take another time, so let me do it again for you. A, O, U, A. Now when we write A, O, U, A, this one's so easy. We're just going to stick our finger on, you can see that the green dot has red around it because it's for starting and stopping, okay? So we're going to stick our finger on the 2 and look at the arrows that tell us to make sure that we go up to the 12, around to the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6, the 5, the 4, the 3, and stop on 2. And we say A, O, U, A. Very good. Now make sure that you practice that one later. Now that we've practiced a few times using the big papers, this time we're going to do another letter. This one's G, J. So I'll start by saying G, J. And then you take your turn. When we write G, J, we're going to use the same thing on our clock face. We're going to use the 2 and the 4. And hopefully now you're ready to start writing in your book. We're going to go from the 2 up to the 12, all the way around the clock again. Make sure we touch the baseline to the 4, transition up to the 2, and this time we're going to go clear down and we're going to go into the dungeon and picture another clock face where we're going to touch the 4 and then go back up and stop on the 8. Okay, so we're going to draw this one in our special notebook. Okay, so I want you to open your notebook and we're going to try and imagine that there is a midpoint right in between the base line and the top line, and below our midpoint, just a little bit below, would be our number 2 on the clock face. So you're going to imagine that there's a 2 right about there. And we're going to start on the 2 and we're going to go all the way around the clock face just as we did before. Make sure we touch the baseline, go about to where the 4 is, then straight up to the 2, all the way back down. Imagine another clock face where we touch the 4, go all the way around and stop on the 8. And we're going to say G, J. Now you might have bigger paper and you might want to try having them write on bigger paper, or if they're ready, they can do this on small paper just as I did.